yesterday's visit in Silex was a really good experience for me.
Awesome, right?
It was my first time doing the mini races like that, and especially joining the locals and X-Pros.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I heard about that we're going to be joining with the locals and X-Pros, I was just hesitant.
Sure. Well, even me, the first time we did a Silex race, I didn't even know that those guys were X-Pros, right? It wasn't until after the race that I found out, so.
And I think yesterday's race was a lot of lessons learned for me as a newbie. I've only started like 3 months as part of the CRZ community, and I'm very thankful that I had that chance to be part of that yesterday's activity.
I think Silex riding like super accelerates the learning curve. That's the best part.
It is. And it was my first time as well to ride my Walser, which is the made-to-measure titanium bikes, because I used to use my super bike, which is the Cannondale Aero Super 6. And yesterday I was able to start appreciating the made-to-measure bike, which is the titanium that I started using. I was able to start being more observant of my posture and focusing more on on how I can fully utilize my capability on the roads, and having that kind of workout where we started with the familiarization of the road, and then the second one was team time trial, and then the third one was the actual mini race. It was a very good example that even if it's my first time to do that kind of workout, I was able to survive it. And after the race, I was having this question at the back of my head, that do you think that I would be able to survive that kind of workout if I was on my size 47, 52 top tube Cannondale versus my made-to-measure titanium bike?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about made-to-measure bikes versus anything else, right? I mean, you're always going to be at a slight disadvantage if you're on something that doesn't just fit you like a glove, right? I mean, I remember the first time I got on the bike that was made for me, and there's just a little bit more efficiency built into every pedal stroke. You feel better on the bike. That makes you more comfortable. When you're more comfortable, you're more confident. When you're more confident, you do things differently and better. And that makes an impact. So from that perspective, absolutely. I mean, I think lots and lots of people have debated, is titanium better than carbon fiber, and vice versa, right? And I think ultimately it definitely comes down to, what kind of riding you do, how aggressive are you or not aggressive. I mean, if you're a person that's obsessed with weight, then maybe you look at it through that lens. I'm not as obsessed about weight as I am about durability. As a bigger rider, putting out a tremendous amount of force, having a bike that's going to hold up to the rigors of that kind of effort is more important to me than having something that's sub 7 kilos. So I look at it a little bit different. The other thing that I noticed, because I'm now on my second titanium bike, and there was a period of time where I was waiting for my new frame to come in, and I was actually riding a borrowed carbon fiber, a really nice Sipo, and I really liked the Black Mamba. I mean, it's a good looking bike and everything else, but I noticed immediately the first day that I rode it a different feel altogether. The titanium is very, I guess you could say, deliberate. Is probably the best thing I can say. You definitely feel the road differently than you do on a carbon fiber bike, and some of that is just because of the natural properties of road dampening. So you feel less vibrations for sure on a titanium bike than you do on a carbon fiber. The other thing is like I said, when it comes to laying out the power, I don't ever think about it on the titanium bike. I just know it's going to do exactly what I need it to do, and it's going to be just fine. And even if I even get into an accident, which I was in several crashes and things like that on my first bike, and my bike did fine. So Yeah, it's just a different thing. I mean, in the bicycle world, when you talk about titanium bikes, they're like mythical creatures, right? Everyone knows what they are, they even know what they look like, but very few have them. And part of it is because, you know, the industry tells us that these other things are much better or more useful or lighter or faster, whatever the case would be. And you tend to lean that direction,
yes,
you know, more than anything else. And it's just, that's good marketing, you know, whatever. So I'm not knocking any of the brands, but a titanium bike for me, like, I've always wanted a titanium bike. Like, I knew I wanted to have that. And so when that became an option, I was over the moon. And I don't know that I would ever go back to anything else. That's how much I love my bike. That's how much I appreciate what it does for me, and everything else. And, you know, there's a reason they call them forever bikes. I mean, you'd really have to work hard to make it a non-forever bike.
That is right. Like, that's the common reaction that I always get when I started using the titanium, especially in Singapore. Like, they even call it, oh, you have a forever bike.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh yeah, sure.
Yep.
And I like it when you mentioned about you don't see yourself going back to another, you know, other bike other than your titanium.
Yeah.
I've actually been in that situation in the past few weeks because as I mentioned, I've been with this community for like 3 months. And when I decided to go to titanium, it took me like a month to really familiarize myself. You even saw me crash.
Yep.
While I was trying to you know, transition to the new bike, and it took me a few weeks to really make that really difficult decision. Should I give up my Cannondale, because it's my dream bike?
Yep.
I really work hard for it to be able to buy that frame. It's a rare frame as well.
Yeah.
You cannot even see that in the market.
No.
I think in Clark that's the only System 6 that
that's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah. And so I had this discussion with my wife, and I said I'm gonna be making my most difficult decision, that is, you know, focusing on the titanium more. Because the reason why I went to that decision is whenever I had that chance to shift between the two bikes for the past few weeks. So whenever I traveled between Singapore and Philippines, I thought that I can just leave my bike in Singapore, which is a titanium, and then use my Cannondale.
Yeah.
But the first time I did that, the first thing I immediately noticed is it's not the same.
No.
And I'm trying to do the same posture, I'm trying to do the same effort, but the moment that I hop on the Cannondale, it feels totally different.
Yeah.
And I even told Coach that, is this observation valid? And then he said, that's a very good observation. So after that session with Coach, I then went back again to my titanium. And then in an instant, the first thing I realized is, because that's the first time that I've been transitioning between these two bikes, is the first thing I appreciated is, since it's a made-to-measure bike, the moment that I hop on it, it forces me to do the posture. Now, when it forces me to do the proper posture, or the posture that we're practicing, is I can focus more on improving myself. Because, you know, that level of thinking that I have to do this, I have to hold the hoods like this, I have to slide back, that became more least of my priority, because the bike is actually telling me that, hey, the moment you hop on this is your posture. Now focus on probably performance, focus on the road, focus on your pedal strokes, focus on your cadence. And I started to appreciate that the more the bike tells you the posture, the more you can go to the next level of focusing more on the performance.
Well, I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. I say it this way all the time. Having good posture and the technique we have unlocks additional opportunities for you to excel. Now, it may be excelling by doing a longer ride, it may be excelling by, you know, getting you ready. Maybe you have a true desire to, you know, compete, you know, whether it's a duathlon or an Ironman or whatever. You know, so being at one with your bike is like a really important thing. And so what posture does, though, is posture is there to create efficiency, so that you can be the most efficient thing on that bike.
Yes.
And because, you know, I always say I'm the worst part of my bike, and I'm the most wind drag, I'm the heaviest component.
It is.
You know, all of those things. So my job is to try to be as efficient as I can be when I'm on that bike, and that's what posture does. The technique is what unlocks additional potential. You know, I mean, we talk about we can make any climb manageable. You can go the distance. You can increase your speed, over time, as a natural byproduct of perfecting some of these things. And to be honest, it's a constant work in progress.
It is.
I remind myself of certain things all the time. I'm looking for little tiny items that are just a little bit out of whack that I have to really fine tune so that I can just take it to that next level. And that's the beauty of it. That's something I could probably do for the rest of my life. And I really, really like that. And so it, our focus, and I know you've now learned this, but our focus is really about the person.
Yes.
The bike is a major component, don't get me wrong, but if I can work with you, if I make you more efficient, if I make you more confident, if I make you stronger, whatever bike you get on, you're going to be better.
Agree. Yeah.
There's no question about that. Then having a bike that fits you and fits you for these kinds of reasons, that's, now you're talking like the Holy Grail.
That is, yeah, I fully agree with that. I think one of the last thing or probably question that I'm going to ask is, this is the common question of the people around the cycling community is, these bikes are well, and one of the concerns that they're mentioning is the quality of that welding between the titanium bikes. And I think you are in a very good position to share about that, because you've been in a lot of bike crash.
Yeah, being in as many bike crashes as I was in, and some people know the worst one was when I went head on into a trike at over 40 kilometers an hour, and and I launched and everything else, and my bike was okay. That blew my mind. If I had been on a carbon fiber bike, first of all, the bike would have disintegrated, guaranteed. But secondly, I don't know what would have happened in that crash. The stability of the bike created a vault scenario instead of a collapsing scenario, which, again, I don't know what would happen, so I don't want to over speculate or anything else. But nevertheless, I really feel like that titanium took so much force out of the equation, and then I of course flew over the top of the other vehicle and landed on the ground, and I walked away with a couple scrapes and a couple bruises. It was really just amazing. But to answer your question about the welds, the one thing if you start looking into how titanium is constructed and things like that, what you realize is, while there's a lot of science and engineering, titanium welders are a little bit artist. And when you're an artist, you tend to very much care about the outcome of whatever it is that you're producing in a totally different way.
Yes.
It's less mechanical at that point, and it's more a passion. And I've found and I've seen and I've witnessed, how these titanium artisans, if you will, they truly care about that, and they want to make sure that their welds are immaculate.
Yes.
So when you compare a steel weld, which may be quite good, but to something like a titanium weld, it just looks completely different. And titanium craftsmen understand that their welds are everything, because there is no such thing as like grade B titanium, right? There's just one level of titanium. No matter what titanium bike you get, there's just one level of titanium, right? There's a couple different kinds of titanium, but there's not like an A grade, a B grade, etc., right?
It's always titanium.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no, you got titanium. So really it comes down to construction. And so construction becomes one of those things where, you can tell right away someone that cares a lot about what they've produced and what they're doing. It's very, very visible. And so, yeah, that's something I think we pride ourselves on. And the welds on my bike look like they were made with a hot butter knife.
It is.
They're just beautiful.
They're just beautiful.
So it's very elegant. But you get that. You have to understand, like, the titanium industry itself, there's only a couple, so I guess you call them major players, right? That make titanium bikes. The rest of those are like small shops.
Yes.
They might make 6 or 12 bikes a year. And that's all they're capable of doing, because it's one guy or maybe two guys crafting these bikes one by one. And that's because of the meticulous care that goes into constructing them absolutely perfect every time.
Indeed. Yeah. The typical racers are going to be using a time trial bike, and I heard that you're gonna be going to Thailand to participate in a race, and you're gonna be bringing the titanium, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's my go-to ride, and I'm getting to do my first international race in Thailand, the Tour of Kundon, and I'm super excited. And of course, the notion that I get to do it on my titanium bike that I ride every single day and do everything, and yeah, I wouldn't do it any other way.
Nice.
So I'm excited.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And hopefully that you can share your experience with the titanium in Thailand.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the first one. I think.
Well, the race operator or organizer or whatever reached out to me, and so they're excited also, and things like that. So I think it's gonna be really fun.
Cool. I think that's a lot of information that we've learned from you today, Tom. Well, shall we say the tank?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and hopefully you guys learned something today. And we're gonna be doing a lot of this kind of user honest experience feedback about titaniums, because it's something that most of us are trying not to really appreciate, and hopefully this kind of content you guys can start appreciate that there's another kind of bike out there that could probably bring out your inner Kraken.
I'll put it this way: I've not seen a single person in any scenario in CRZ that got a titanium bike that did not level up their game.
Yes, that is. Yes.
And I say that in the sense that it's not just titanium; it's also been made to fit them specifically.
It is.
And that combination really makes it an impact.
That's a very last good point. We as Asians, specifically Filipinos, we are, majority of us are not blessed with height.
Yeah.
And this made to measure.
But they love basketball. No.
Yeah. We're actually designed for football. We're doing basketball. Football does not require height, right? Yeah. Now going back to the bike and being a Filipino, I think this made to measure bike addresses that limitation of those existing made prefabricated frames that we have in the market.
Again, you look at the industry, right? So the industry is set up to service, like any good business would be. You build your product for where it's going to get sold the most.
Yes.
And right now, North America and Europe, make up over 80% of all bicycle sales, right? On these special, these road bikes and things like that, right? That's what I'm talking about. And so, if you think about that, then what they've done is they take the body geometry of the average North American or European, and that's what they base their bike molds on and everything else.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's just not the same when you get to Asia.
Yes.
And it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's just their business model. If you're looking at it through the lens of being an Asian, then it would be not a great fit. If you're looking at it through the lens of being North American or European, it usually fits okay. So what ends up happening is most people get put into a bike that's too big for them on day one. And so from day one, you've already compromised your ability to be comfortable, to ride with confidence, to handle the bike properly, and all things, because you're just not in a great position.
That's right.
And so then everything you do, whether it's a long ride, a hilly ride where you're doing climbing, or even descents, when you can't get into the proper position on a descent to be able to grab the brakes the right way, now even braking becomes something that can be painful, to your hands and cause cramping and everything else. So really, a bike that fits you is super important. I mean, you think about it, what else would you do in your life? You wouldn't go and buy pants that are 3 sizes too big.
Yes.
Because you'd never be able to wear them. You wouldn't buy shoes that are 3 sizes too big or whatever, because you'd never be able to wear them. And so bikes are no different. It's something that fits the person that is riding it, and so that really makes a big impact. For sure.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's gonna wrap up the titanium topic for today. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. And thank you, the tank.
No problem. Titanium, definitely tanker proof.
Forever bike.
Forever bike.
Okay. See you guys.
See you.
Ciao.